Call Cat Smith to move the motion. I will then call the Minister to respond. There will not be an opportunity for the member in charge to wind up, as is the convention for 30-minute debate. Order, order. Cat Smith to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr Dowden. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairship, especially as a fellow Lancastrian member of this House on a very special day. So I want to begin this morning by wishing everybody fortunate enough to have been born in the Red Rose County, or those that have chosen to make it their home, a very happy Lancashire Day. Very shortly, school children across Lancashire will be tucking into their special school lunch today, which I believe includes a favourite of mine, butter pie. I can highly recommend it, with a nice bit of warming baked beans on the side and washed down with Lancashire's finest soft drink, Vimto. The county of Lancashire was established in 1182 and came to be bordered by Cumberland, Westmoreland, Yorkshire and Cheshire. There is an awful lot of history, Mr Dowd, that happened between 1182 and the 1970s, but it's only half an hour, so I'm not going to go into that here, but perhaps members, if they are keen, we can apply for a longer debate on that. But by the census of 1971, the population of Lancashire and its county boroughs had reached over 5 million, making it the most populous geographic county in the UK. And that's partly why, I suppose, on the 1st of April 1974, under the Local Government Act of 1972, the old county was abolished, as were many county boroughs. The urbanised southern part largely became part of those two metropolitan counties, Merseyside and Greater Manchester, but with Lancashire over the sands to the north becoming part of a newly formed Cumbria. And it's a great pleasure to have members from the Cumbria and Merseyside and Greater Manchester parts. I will give way to my friend from Northern Ireland.
This forward. I want to add my support and celebrations for the Lancashire Day as well. My connection is with the Honourable Lady, who has always been at the debate where I've been able to attend and support her. I want to continue that tradition. I wish her well and what she does. Lancashire is an integral, important part of this great United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. We thank her for that.
Cat Smith.
I thank my honourable friend for that lovely intervention and celebrate the links that lie between the west coast of England and Northern Ireland, and long may they continue and prosper. So as I was saying, the outline of the 1972 boundaries looks much like the Lancashire you will see today. The ceremonial county of Lancashire is divided into 14 local government districts. 12 are part of our two-tier non-metropolitan county of Lancashire, which is administered by Lancashire County Council. The 12 districts of the non-metropolitan county are Burnley, Chorley, Fylde, Hyndburn, Lancaster, Pendle, Preston, Ribble Valley, Rosendale, South Ribble, West Lancashire and Wyre. But Blackpool and Blackburn with Darwen are unitary authorities formed in 1996, before which each district was part of the non-metropolitan county of Lancashire. Now, for the purposes of parliamentary representation, Lancashire has 16 members of Parliament, of which I consider myself to be very honoured and privileged to be just one of those, serving for the Lancaster and Fleetwood constituency up until from 2015 until the last general election, and now re-elected to serve the newly created Lancaster and Wyre, or potentially recreated Lancaster and Wyre constituency, depending on how far your memory goes back. And as part of my work, given these new constituency boundaries of getting to understand the new patch, I tried to work out how many local councillors that I had with a shared geography in my constituency. Unfortunately, Mr Dowd, I did become quickly overwhelmed. I would like to put on record my thanks to the House of Commons Library for their assistance in this research. So I asked the library for the number of county councillors, district councillors and parish councillors who represent areas within the Lancaster and Wyre constituency. But it turned out even they did not have access to a complete data set of the number of councillors in each of these types of area. But they did provide me with analysis of the number of county electoral divisions, wards and parishes in the constituency, which got me started. Now, bear with me, because not all the geographies exactly match up, as I explained, but it gives you some idea of the current numbers of councillors at play here. Now, when it comes to elected representatives, we have one Police and Crime Commissioner for Lancashire. That covers the whole of my Lancaster and Wyre constituency. There are 8 Lancashire County Councillors elected to serve across 8 divisions, including Lancaster Rural East, which is about a quarter in my constituency. So we also now have district councils So turning to the district council and wards. Now, all 8 of the Wyre district council wards are within the constituency boundary, so that's nice and neat. But it's along with 11 Lancaster council wards, which includes Skirton ward, which actually half of its geography actually is in a different constituency. But in total, that makes 19 wards from the Lancaster council as well. But wards in Wyre and in Lancaster can be represented between either 1, 2 or 3 councillors. So here's where you might need to start making detailed notes if you're trying to add up how many councillors I have. So there are 27 Lancaster City councillors in the Lancaster and Wyre constituency and 15 Wyre Borough councillors, which totals 42 district councillors for Lancaster and Wyre. Now, much of the Lancaster and Wyre constituency, indeed much of Lancashire, is parished. And many parish councillors I pay testament to because they are incredibly active and engaged with their communities. But there are 27 parishes within my constituency boundary, 7 in the Lancaster area and 20 in the Wyre area. This figure includes 2 Lancaster parishes that are only actually marginally within my constituency boundaries, with the majority of the parish outside in a different constituency. The parishes of the Lancaster part of my constituency are Aldclyffe with Stoddy, Cochrane, Ellel, Heaton with Oxcliffe, Morecambe, Over Wyresdale, Scotforth and Furnham. And the parishes in the Wyre part of my constituency are Barnacle with Bonds, Bleasdale, Cabus, Cattrall, Clyton, Forton, Garstang, Great Eccleston, Hambleton, Inskip with Sowerby, Kirkland, Myerscough, Billsborough, Nateby, Nether Wyresdale, Out Rawcliffe, Pilling, Preesall, Stalmine with Stainall, Upper Rawcliffe with Tarnaker and Wyn Marley. Now, looking at these parish councils' websites, and I'm had to assume that they're not carrying any vacancies, I found that there were 194 parish councillors in Lancaster and Wyre, quickly realising it was going to take me a long time to go around and have a cup of tea with all of them. Now, if we add this to the 42 district councillors and 8 county councillors and 1 police and crime commissioner, we discover that Lancaster and Wyre's parliamentary constituency is not only having 1 elected member of parliament, but also 245 other elected officials who can claim to represent them. If this was replicated across Lancashire's other 16 parliamentary constituencies, it would suggest that we have almost 4,000 representatives across the Red Rose County. Now, I'm not sure how many elected representatives the Minister is serving alongside in his constituency, but I'm going to guess, given its metropolitan nature, it's perhaps not quite so high as that. But why does Lancashire have so much local government, and is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? That's my question today. And to be fair, I think there are pros and cons. Sometimes my constituents can get really confused by which council is responsible for what. So the district council collects your waste and recycling, but the county council processes it, and that can seem quite muddled to a lot of folk. But it's not just my constituents that are getting confused and frustrated. I too, I confess, have been known to exclaim in the office that some trees are pruned by a district council and other trees get pruned by the county council. And when you have that angry constituent frustrated by the tree on the end of the phone and you aren't clear which council is going to be responsible, no wonder our constituents get frustrated too. But often the upper tier local authority, Lancashire County Council in our case, will, shall we say, generously offer to relinquish their responsibilities onto parish councils, which is a trend that I've been seeing more and more of. Whether it's giving up maintenance of assets from their estates department, like, for example, on the Esplanade shelter in Knott End, which they've just realised after 113 years they don't formally own, or asking parish councils to buy their own electronic speed indicator devices instead of their transport department. It does feel grossly unfair for residents to be doubly charged for both through council tax and parish council precepts for the same maintenance and transport services. But is the answer pushing a one-size-fits-all model of local government that works for England's metropolitan areas onto a rural county like Lancashire? The reason why Lancashire's local government looks the way it does is because it's evolved that way, and it's evolved to meet the needs of the communities across our vast and diverse county. I mentioned earlier about the commitment and enthusiasm of parish councillors. These are completely unsalaried posts where volunteers give up their time and passion to organise things like village gala days, Christmas lights, Remembrance Sunday parades, and so much more. You would be foolish to underestimate the dedication of so many of our parish councillors and the commitment they have to the communities that they call home. Similarly, district councils help residents feel more connected to local government in a county where we have very many different towns and villages with very distinct identities, not always with strong transport connections between us, and separated by vast swathes of countryside. But I can see the attraction on the part of government to have the whole of England neatly divided into broadly equally sized unitary authorities with metro mayors sitting above these. It makes the job of government easier to have a one-size-fits-all approach. I would happily give way to my friend.
To my friend for giving way, and indeed to acknowledge proudly that I also am a Lancastrian and that my constituency includes vast amounts of Lancashire over the Sound, which is my privilege to represent. She talks about the maybe sometimes how local government reorganisations are done by government to suit government rather than the communities that they are meant to serve. We had in Cumbria a unitary reorganisation which took place only last April. Would she understand why businesses and residents in Westminster and the rest of Cumbria are heavily opposed to any idea of an imposition of a mayor now and having another reorganisation barely 5 minutes after the last one?
Smith.
I would very well understand why my honourable friend's constituents would feel exactly that way. I was very involved in the consultations around the reorganisation in Cumbria, not least because there was a strong bid by the Lancaster district within Lancashire and a desire to go in with South Lakeland and Barrow councils to form a Bay Authority, which matches in terms of what the community looks at and where the community identity lies. The north of Lancashire has always looked to the north and into what we now call Cumbria, which of course was only fictitiously created in 1972, as I alluded to earlier. And I recognise that much of my honourable friend's constituency, in my opinion, still to this day remains part of the Red Rose County. But certainly would not support his constituency being further inconvenienced by local government reorganisation. And I think my honourable friend will enjoy the arguments I'm about to make around a mayor for Lancashire and may see some common ground where we can form an alliance on that. Because by argument, we need something that works for communities and that the communities that are represented by these structures feel it represents them and works for them too. And it's really hard to see how a rural county that goes from the edge of Merseyside and Greater Manchester right to the edges of the Lake District National Park, from the Irish Sea to the Yorkshire border, can truly be represented by just one man. And I make no apology for saying man here. We've seen the vast majority of mayors elected being men, and I see no evidence to suggest that Lancashire might suddenly buck the trend. Since 2012, Lancashire has elected a police and crime commissioner. This is the only post that we have where it's one post elected across the whole of Lancashire. And it's a post that's only ever been held by a man. Clive Brunshaw served from 2012 to 2021. And then Andrew Snowden from 2021 to 2024, and now since May this year, it's Clive Brunshaw again. Now, I must declare that I have a good working relationship with both men. Clive being my constituency Labour Party chairperson for many, many years, and the Honourable Member for Fylde now being my constituency neighbour, and we're finding common ground on many constituency issues. My issue is not with those individuals, but the point stands that they are both men. And digging deeper, it's clear that no political party has ever even stood a woman for Police and Crime Commissioner. So this doesn't bode well for a future mayor of Lancashire either. In 2012, there were 4 candidates for Police and Crime Commissioner. There was Labour, Conservative, UKIP and Liberal Democrat, but all stood men. In 2016, there were 4 candidates again. Labour, Conservative, UKIP and Liberal Democrat, all men. In 2021, there were 4 candidates. Conservative, Labour, Liberal Democrat and Reform, all men. And in 2024 this year, there were 3 candidates, Labour, Conservative and Liberal Democrat, but all stood men. So by asking Lancashire to adopt a mayoral model of devolution, I feel that we're being asked to devolve power from women council leaders, of whom roughly half are women, to a man as mayor. And I think after all the progress the Labour Party has made by increasing women's representation in Westminster, and we have more women MPs in Lancashire than ever, which is 6 out of 16, still work to be done there, but we risk undoing that progress. We have women council leaders at Lancashire County Council, and one of our 2 unitary councils, Blackpool. And in 6 of our 12 districts, Fylde, Hyndburn, Lancaster, Rosendale, South Ribble and West Lancashire, there's clearly something about this model of organising local government which seems to solicit a more equal gender balance of leaders. And my fear is that we're taking power away from these women leaders and regressing into a model which favours men. So here we are, Lancashire Day 2024, and we're a county that has taken and embraced change many times before. We have a rich history, strong cultural identity, and a diverse range of cities, towns and villages across the rich landscapes of our Red Rose County. And looking to the future, I know that I and many local councillors have questions for the Minister, which I hope he can address in his remarks. I'd happily give way.
I congratulate the member for securing this debate on this historical day, a day known and celebrated as Lancashire Day. A day promoting and preserving the true identity of Lancashire. I support the devolution of powers and funding to Lancashire, which includes Blackburn, which incidentally, I have to say, is the best run unitary authority in the area. Now, it's one of the authorities in Lancashire which has experience in dealing and managing children and adult social care services. It's had experience of over 25 years, an authority which I'm working closely with. Will the member agree that any changes or any powers that are given to the authorities must be done with close consultation with authorities like Blackburn, with Darwen Council, because it's that... Thank you.
I think the Honourable Gentleman is making a really strong point for the fact that this cannot be done to us in Lancashire. It has to be done with us. And we have examples of, really successful councils, as the Honourable Gentleman is outlining there. And we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater here. I think we will want to see Lancashire to move forward and be successful and embrace change, but not in a one-size-fits-all kind of way. The Minister will be aware that I did send him in advance copy my questions, and I hope we'll be able to get some clear answers, because my local councillors were very clear that they wanted to know if it would be politicians or civil servants who are deciding what can and cannot happen in this round of local government reorganisations, and indeed how much weight will be given to community wishes and voices. And I think that's not just a feeling from my local councillors, but from honourable members in this room today. They also want to know if current district authority boundaries are fixed, or can an authority be split into 2 different unitary authorities, should Lancashire be divided into more than one. And which is more important in local government reorganisation? Is it ceremonial county boundaries or functional economic areas? And what weight will be given to the mirroring of health and NHS footprints? Often the NHS organises in a far more practical way than we do in local government. I would also like to know what reassurance my constituents can have that their local council won't suddenly feel like it's a million miles away from where they live. It's still relevant to their lives. And when it comes to a representative democracy, how can we ensure that Lancashire's representatives continue to look more like the people we represent? How can we ensure that both rural and urban voices are heard, and that coastal communities aren't forgotten? And how can we ensure that we continue to make progress towards a 50-50 representation between women and men in elected office? I continue to be of the belief that Lancashire, by the way, is the finest of England's counties. We are everything. We are diverse and we are beautiful, and we have a proud history going back 842 years. And I want to go forward, and I want to progress with a future as bright as our past. Happy Lancashire Day.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to start off by congratulating the Honourable Member for Lancaster and Wyre for securing this debate on this special day, Lancashire Day. And of course, as a fellow Lancastrian from Oldham, if you go into Lancashire County Hall, you will see emblazoned Oldham's crest on the wall, pointing to our historic ties to the county of which we are very proud. And so, yeah, special day. I'm very pleased to see the flag flying in New Palace Yard in recognition of that. I welcome this debate. We're at a very important moment now, just as the English devolution white paper is due to be published before Christmas. And I hope the member will forgive. There are a number of aspects about the framework of that I'll wait for the white paper to be published on. But I'm certainly happy to talk about Lancashire, the agreement that's been reached, and kind of next steps forward that maybe addresses some of the points more directly. Now, this government was elected on a platform to widen and deepen devolution across England as part of our central mission to drive economic growth and improve living standards. We want to move power out of Westminster and back into the hands who know those areas better, giving those with skin in the game the tools to get the job done. In September, the government agreed to the Lancashire devolution deal, which marked a significant step in delivering on that mission for the region. This agreement will help reshape communities and unlock the economic growth potential of the region to benefit all residents by returning power from Westminster to local communities. Specifically, the devolution agreement means a combined authority, a county combined authority, will be established with Lancashire County Council, Blackpool Council and Blackburn with Darwen as constituent members. Local leaders, through that body, will take responsibility for services delivered at a strategic level, giving them more control and influence over the levers of local growth. For example, local leaders will take control of the Adult Schools Fund, allowing Lancashire to better shape local schools providers. The Lancashire LEP will be integrated into the new body, ensuring a more strategic and coordinated approach to business support. The new body will take on the status of the Local Transport Authority, meaning better integration for local transport in the area to make it easier for local people to get from A to B. And there will be new land assembly powers and compulsory purchase powers, enabling housing and economic development to flourish in the future. Now, yesterday, the statutory instrument was laid to enable the combined county authority for Lancashire, and I look forward to debating this in more detail. The SI gives local leaders those powers previously mentioned over transport, housing and economic development, with powers over adult schools to follow. A locally run consultation demonstrated widespread support for the area taking on these new powers, including support from the business community. Importantly, investment matters, and so this devolution agreement also sees the release of £20 million of capital funding to support local growth priorities identified in the area. This could include projects such as the National Cyber Security Force Headquarters, the innovative low-carbon data centre at Blackpool Airport, the Civil Service Hub in Blackpool, the Blackburn Innovation Quarter and the Cosy Homes project to deliver better quality, more efficient homes in the area. Now, I recognise there have been live discussions on the role of district councils in the combined county authority, and it's my firm belief that district councils will continue to play a key role in the success of devolution in that area. We expect effective levels of collaboration to be demonstrated between upper tier, unitary and district councils. In the end, it's a place and the people that matter, and we expect councils to work together in that endeavour. The devolution agreement we have reached with Lancashire, and the one that's been implemented at the moment, we consider to be the start of the devolution journey and not the end. Essentially, it's the first step. It's a down payment made in good faith to work toward a mayoral combined authority. And all the discussions that we've had in that area are about realising the potential, not just of Lancashire, that's important, but for the north of England to realise its full potential. And the way to achieve that is by taking power, decision-making and resources away from the centralised model we have in this country and putting it closer to people and the communities where they live. And we believe that where mayors are in place and they are working together now as a unit for UK mayors, now through the Great North Project where they are organising, they are beginning to make a significant difference and show collective leadership for the north of England in particular. And we want to see all of England benefit from that, and we don't shy away from that ambition.
On that point, will you wait?
Of course.
I just wanted to if the Minister could pick up on the points raised by my honourable friend and myself around Cumbria and Lancashire, which are very rural counties. And does he have any thoughts on the challenges of being a mayor on a sort of disparate and sort of spread out area rather than a neat metropolitan area?
Minister.
Well, it's important to separate out the different roles and responsibilities. We do not see mayors as being super councils. We see mayors as regional leaders that have a strategic responsibility. That is very different than councils who provide a public service delivery responsibility. And I do think that is different. And we are seeing mayors beginning to make a difference where they are in place. For instance, York and North Yorkshire, highly rural, one of the biggest geographical combined authorities in the country. We've just agreed a mayoral combined authority for Greater Lincolnshire, again, significant rural population there too. And of course, the East Riding and Hull will have a mayor next year as well. So these devolution deals are being rolled out across the country in both urban and rural areas, because in the end, it's about political leadership, it's about accountability, and it's about getting powers from here. And if people feel as though somebody down the road is distant, people feel much more that this place is distant. We've got to break the centralised model of command and control that we see here. In many of the questions that have been raised, and these are the issues that we wrestle with, how do you balance the functioning economic area with a public service footprint, with people's locally and strongly held identity and sense of belonging, in a way that balances all those out to get to a settlement that can be supported and accepted? And those are all issues that we're facing in the English devolution white paper, and will continue to form part of the agreements that we reached. I would say, though, on all of those tests, that Lancashire is the ideal model for that. It is a clear, modern county, outside of our historic roots to the more historic county. It's a modern county. It has units of local government that speak to that footprint. It has units of public service delivery that speak to that footprint. It has a police and crime commissioner that speaks to that footprint, and is a functioning economic area that speaks to that footprint too. And so on that basis, I think that Lancashire is a very good candidate for this, and the people of Lancashire, I think, have a lot to gain from this mayoral model of devolution. I'll also say, and it's worth facing head on, in the discussions that we've had in Lancashire, and just to reference the intervention earlier on, we do recognise that we want to see, of course, district councils represented, but local government reorganisation is clearly part of the conversations that are taking place. We get representations on a fairly regular basis from council leaders and from members of parliament there, and we recognise that those are live discussions. I would say they are separate discussions that may come together at a point in time, and we need to allow both processes to run and to be worked through in more detail. And so I'll say, finally, Chair, if I can, in closing, that I will thank again the Honourable Member for Lancaster and Wyre for securing the debate. Whilst we have an overarching national ambition to see devolution across the country, it's fundamentally a local issue about how best to shift powers to communities and deliver real change on the ground. And we look forward to that ambition being realised in Lancashire. Thank you.
Thank you. The question is that this House has considered the potential merits of a devolution deal for Lancashire. As many as of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order, order. The sitting is suspended until 2:30. Thank you.